I guess the beginning of how to irritate people dates back to when John Cleese and I first met, which is up at Cambridge. He was about a year behind me at Cambridge, and so I was able to be one of the people who elected him to the Footlights, the famous review and cabaret society, and he wrote his first piece for the Footlights Review, which was a thing about the mine disaster, John Cleese's mine disaster piece, as it was called, and he was clearly a genius at that stage, and our paths really crossed again when I was putting together the cast in '66 of The Frost Report, and we got Ronnie Corbett and Ronnie Barker, and I felt John Cleese would be terrific. He'd been working for Newsweek in New York, because he's always thought that he wanted to be more of a serious journalist than the humorist, although he's a genius as a humorist. And I persuaded him on a telephone call, in fact, I think it was to Kennedy Airport, to persuade him to come back to London and to take part in the Frost Report. But within 3 weeks of it starting, he was giving one of his first interviews where he was saying, of course, he was only going to be doing this humorous stuff for a while, and then he'd get on to something more serious. Thank God he hasn't. We had a great team of writers working with us. John was one of those writers as well, of course, and Graham Chapman as well. And so Palin and Jones, Michael Palin and Terry Jones, and Barry Cryer and Dick Vosper. A terrific lineup, and Marty Feldman was the sort of script editor. It was a terrific team of writers pulling the Frost Report together, and this was in the sort of post-satire period. After that was The Week That Was, and so on. And but it was not so much topical but contemporary, the Frost Report. Not so much political but social. And we did 2 series of that. And then we did a series called At Last the 1948 Show. Now this was a terrific show for Associated Rediffusion, starring John Cleese, Marty Feldman's debut as a performer, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Graham Chapman. And that show really spawned a lot of the things that we then saw in Marty. And at about that time, I wanted to do a special for America starring John Cleese, and he came up with the idea of how to irritate people, because that was so much a part of his sense of humor, as you can see in the video, that it's that marvelous joy he got out of finding ways of snaring people and putting people on and so on. And so there's the sketch with Connie Booth, the maddeningly overzealous lover, and there's the sketches probably from his own past about mothers and so on in the series. And Michael Palin's there, of course, as you know, if you've seen the video already. Graham Chapman is there, and they're just a very, very strong team, and Dick Vosper makes a brief appearance and so on. So it's just a really strong team. Tim Brooke-Taylor, they're all there in this, and it was united by this idea of, which I guess is a touch of the Fawlty sort of sense of, Basil Fawlty sort of sense of humour. And so his advice, what you should do with your bank manager when he owes you money, given what he does when you owe him money. All of those things, ways of maddening people, that's really what it is. How to madden people as well as how to irritate people. And they're all the sketches, and some of them are really John Cleese, Graham Chapman classics, really bring together Michael Palin in the garage sketch and so on, just bring together that humour that bubbled up at that time. It was sort of satirical, but it was post-satirical and anarchic, and in this particular case, deliberately maddening.